Hello and morning, everyone, including Manchester United fans. How are you doing? It's a pretty new week, full of action. So we're expecting a lot of stuff to be happening in the markets this week. And on today's session, we are going to have an overview of what you're expecting and also look at some key price levels and developments in the markets this week. So once you join in, can you just say hi on the live comment section, and this will confirm that everything is working just fine. So quick one, last week, we had quite a crazy technical week with a lot of stuff happening in the markets. One of the key highlights is that the dollar was pretty weak at the beginning of the week and then regained strength before eventually losing towards the end of the week. So it was not an all positive week for the dollar. So while a majority of the major currencies were on the gain, they eventually lost. They were on the losing side. They eventually started gaining against the dollar. So if it's the New Zealand dollar, it was losing, then eventually rallied here. Then before pulling back down, if you look at Euro USD, it's quite a similar story, making a very strong run against the dollar. Dollar strengthens and then it recovers on Friday. Then today you can see another recovery. Same case for the pound USD. It was losing against the dollar, and then on Friday made a big jump and erased some of the losses. So as for gold, you can see it was a clear break, basically gaining against the dollar. And at the same time, if you look at the Australian dollar, it was quite a crazy swing up and down, and then making a rally towards the end of the week on Friday. So S&P 500 made a very big break towards the upper side. Same case as the US 30 and US Tech 100, as well as UK oil. So UK oil had a big drop midday on Friday, and then it made a quick recovery and rallied all the way up to $85.6 per barrel. So now that we know all that, let's look at what we are expecting for the week. And there's quite a number. So hi guys, Kiburi FC, I can see your comment. So let's get on with it. So there's quite a number of things that you're expecting this week. So among the major highlights is one, US President Biden is set to release his proposed budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024, and this will be happening on Thursday. So there will be a lot of focus on that fiscal budget, since he's expected to cut the fiscal deficit spending. At the same time, he could introduce a set of new taxes, these mainly for billionaires as well as families or households that are earning above $400,000 a year. So besides these, early this morning, we had inflation data coming up from Switzerland, which jumped 0.7% in February, eventually leading to a strengthening of the CHF currency. So let me try and share this. So clearly, you can see the chart right here. So annual inflation in Switzerland jumps to 3.4% after jumping 0.7% in February, and the CHF rallies against the dollar as well as the UK pound. So if you look at your charts right now and you look at the USD CHF, then you can see this happened about 30 minutes ago, and it's a big jump here, indicating that the Swiss franc is currently strengthening against the dollar. So as for the pound, if you look at pound CHF, also a similar jump. So here was before the news was announced, and then after the news was announced, there was a big jump downwards, indicating some continued strength in the Swiss franc. So besides that, there is more news that we're expecting for the day. So since it's Monday, we know that Mondays we don't normally have a lot of news announcements happening in the markets. So we will be looking at European retail sales data, and these will be happening at 1 p.m. And I think that's the only major news happening today. So as for the rest of the week, tomorrow, very early in the morning, we'll be looking at the Reserve Bank of Australia interest rate data, as well as a monetary policy statement. Then at around 6 p.m. tomorrow, we'll be seeing Jerome Powell testify about the semi-annual monetary policy report before the Senate Banking Committee in Washington. So then we'll be looking at more news on Wednesday. Reserve Bank of Australia Governor Philip Lowe is set to speak at the Australian Financial Review Business Summit, and this will be happening in Sydney, Australia on Wednesday at 12:55 a.m. This is East African time. Then ECB President Christine Lagarde is set to participate in a moderated discussion at International Women's Day hosted by the World Trade Organization in Geneva, Switzerland, and this is Wednesday at 1 p.m. So on top of that, same time, we'll be looking at the European employment change and revised GDP data. Then to close the day, we'll be looking at the ADP non-farm payrolls for the US, as well as a Bank of Canada interest rate data and monetary policy statement at 6 p.m. So then we look at the Fed Chair Jerome Powell speech. He'll be speaking at the semi-annual monetary policy report before the House Financial Services Committee in Washington, and these will be happening on Thursday at 6 p.m. At the same time, we'll be looking at the job openings in the US. Later on, we'll be looking at the Japanese final GDP and GDP price index data. This will be happening at 2:50 a.m. on Thursday. Then Chinese inflation data and producer price index at 4:30 a.m. And once we get to the afternoon, we look at the US unemployment claims on Thursday at 4:30 p.m. So as you can see, it's an action-packed week. Remember, on Thursday I mentioned there will be unveiling of the US fiscal budget. Then on Friday, we look at Japanese interest rate data, monetary policy statement, and the Bank of Japan press conference. This will be happening at around 2:50 a.m. The time will be 10:30. Later on Friday, we will be looking at the UK GDP data, Canadian jobs data, and most important of all, we'll be looking at US non-farm payrolls on Friday, 4:30 p.m. So on the earnings side, we don't expect a lot of companies to be reporting. Remember, the earnings season is low. So we'll be looking at the Dick's Sporting Goods stock. We'll look at the earnings from CrowdStrike as well as Manchester United. So on top of that, on Thursday, we'll be looking at the earnings from DocuSign as well as e-commerce retailer JD.com. So that's it for the news for the week. So now we can look at a couple of more prices. So I think a lot of trends were broken last week, and we are seeing progressions from the markets breaking out of a structure. So a lot of new structures may be constructed this week. So for instance, if you look at these, you notice there was a key trend line closing through here, and then it was broken, market retested and went down. So we can literally say the market is trading out of structure. New Zealand USD was basically following this particular trend line, broke it, and now we don't have trend line anymore. So we might be looking at a completely new structure. If you look at the longer term trend line here, it's the same thing broken last week. So if you look at Euro USD, this one seems to be remaining within structure. So if you look at the 4-hour chart, this was the overall movement. So perhaps you'll be seeing a break this week. Or if this level holds up well, that is 1.06, 516, then perhaps we'll be seeing some further downside. So Pound USD maintained a very strong support at 1.193, and the resistance kept going down. You can see the highs are getting lower and lower, and now we seem to be on an upswing where the market is potentially headed for the upper trend line. So a key price level you might be interested in looking at is around 1.20843. So as for USD CAD, this is the most interesting one. So this was a major trend line that was acting as support, managed to identify a lot of potential entry opportunities for the bull run. But then eventually the market was unable to form higher highs. So once that happened, you can see the market broke the lower trend line. And now we have a low that is significantly lower than the previous one. So potentially the market seems to be trading sideways. but then we could be seeing a break happening this week or even today. So I'm monitoring these highs from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the lows from Monday, Tuesday, all the way to Friday. And now if there's a break of any of these trend lines, then potentially we could identify a direction for USD CAD. So USD yen, we were majorly bullish. So every time we got a pullback towards the lower trend line, it was a nice opportunity to go for a buy trade. But this trend was broken on Friday. So perhaps we'll be seeing a retest of the breakout level. This is where the market broke out. So maybe we'll be seeing the market retest this area. And then once it gets to this area, we look for signs of a continuation higher or even a reversal back downwards. So the key price level for USD yen will be 136.081. So as for gold, a very strong bullish momentum. You can see last week the pullbacks and the way they were playing out. We also had a lot of crossovers happening in the moving averages here, and also here indicating a very strong bullish reversal. So clearly, gold is gunning to move even higher. So if technicals are anything to go by, then we look at the base of the pattern. So this is a bearish channel that started here. So these swings can be easily identified up until gold found a bottom, broke, and then started rallying towards the upper side. So this week, there's a good chance we'll be seeing gold rally all the way up to 1889, 1890, around there. However, we know that markets don't move in a straight line. So the idea is to look for pullbacks in order to trade the current rally in gold. So AUD-USD making more or less like a route speaker, getting widening upper trend line and also a widening lower trend line. So we will be identifying swings on both extremes. The resistance at 0.67814 and also the support right here at 0.67072. So potentially this will be our key trading levels, this resistance, as well as this support. Then out of action will be coming once the market gets to either of them. So for US indices, seems to be a very strong bull run. I don't know how long this will last. Remember, the markets are already pricing in a stronger than expected rate hike on the Fed's March meeting. This will be happening on the third week. We are just on the first week of the month. So in this case, potentially, if the rally is exhausted, trading reversals might be a thing. So today we don't have signs yet that the market will reverse. The bullish momentum is still pretty strong. Even this morning there was a good rally. So looking for signs of weakness might be a thing when you are trading US indices, US 500, the Dow Jones, as well as the US Tech 100. So as for UK oil, remains quite noisy. Trying to identify patterns is a little bit tricky. So let's look at what we are seeing here. So I just removed all that noise. And now you can see there's a pretty clear trend line here that was broken for a while. And now from the lower side, you can see there's also another trend line here. So right now the market is sitting closer to the upper trend line. So perhaps we'll be seeing a pullback or a break of the upper trend line. So there's also a major resistance being approached in this area here. So the resistance level is around 86.631 dollars per barrel. So if you zoom out, you can see it's almost a U-shaped recovery, which basically creates the idea that we might be seeing a very familiar pattern, which is what we often describe as a cup and a handle. So something similar to this could be happening in this chart. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you on the next session. Remember, it will be tomorrow, same time, 11 a.m. And perhaps if you have time, we'll also be having another session at 4 p.m. So there's a good request for something on cryptocurrency. Thank you for suggesting that. We'll be looking at that. I know there's a lot of developments happening in the crypto space right now. So in tomorrow's update, we'll try to focus on that. What's causing the weakness of the DXY, bearing that Fed speakers have been very hawkish? I think a lot of investors are pulling off the markets. waiting for next week to see how they will be responding to the news. Sorry, not next week, but this week. So a lot of investors will be staying out, watching on the sidelines, and once they have the data, then perhaps we'll be seeing continued strength in the dollar and weakness in equities.